And on myth number 3 out of that, don't hear many people talks about it. But again, because a lot of the videos I hear about, they're focused on phase 1, stabilization. But when you bring those patients to the ICU, we start feeding them. How do you give them? Because now, let's say the body needs to recover, so that you have burns, that you have like any trauma, the body needs to create a lot of, the wall is broken and it needs to repair the holes with new bricks. How those bricks are built with amino acids, protein, and all this. So diet becomes very important. Well, now you have someone semi-conscious or not totally there, could be unconscious. How do you feed them? I don't see many people talking about feeding and the diet and how to do that. And they again talk about all the IV fluids and stuff, but like we were talking about, first of all, it doesn't bring any oxygen, which is the big reason why you're in shock. So it's a lack of oxygen to your cellular. So that's the distribution of it. And all the fluids that you give has nothing in it. There's some of it, D5 or dextrose 5 and dextrose 5 in water has some, but it's very limited. So we're going to talk a little bit about enteral feeding, and this is why, because of the diets and everything. But in the kit, you should start considering diets and not just IV fluid. So this is why I brought it as well as IV fluid, because then I don't see many people talked about that one. But yeah, very important in the diets. Myth number 4 that I hear a lot, and I'm always the clamping of the artery. Oh, there's an artery guy, I need to clamp this and stuff. First of all, good luck trying to find the artery to clamp. Second of all, you can do more damage than anything else by trying to clamp, because if you don't clamp the right way, some people lost legs, or even worse than that, because they clamped either the wrong artery or they clamped too high. So if you don't know what you're doing, not having hemostatic clamps and, oh, if I see bleed, I clamp this. This is what a lot of the kits or people seems to be saying. Not the best strategy. We'll talk a little bit more about some other strategy you can have, like I mentioned before, with a Foley, with a big balloon. Some studies in the Africa or mention about that. Or even like there's some other device that you can buy online, and they're categorizing that their device that they use and like we use in emergency or the OR. That's exactly the same thing. They're sterile, so then you don't infect as much as if you carry those device, and they probably work a little bit better. So we'll talk about different strategy. But again, also this big, oh, I need to clamp, or the patient will. There's a lot of people that will die. They will die. They will die. They will die. They will die. And clamping actually can worsening your situation. For example, if you clamp too high and you cut the circulation to the guts, well, now the guts could go ischemic, and ischemic means that there's not enough oxygen to them. They're dying. If they die, bacteria out of your guts could release, and now you have bacteremia. So how is that helping to stop the bleeding for your leg when you could have done other stuff like pressure? You could have maybe cauterized the bleeding, or apply like other things like celiac dressings or things like that. That would have been way more effective, decrease your chance of having those ischemic guts, and giving a better chance for the person. So yeah, saving at all costs sometimes can help, but other time may not. It can actually worsening, so average condition. So this is why those clamp, you need to know what you're doing when you have those things. Pain control. A lot of people always talks about all pills and stuff, but there's other ways of doing pain control, and we'll discuss a little bit about some of them, especially like when you talk about fractures in the pain, in your pain circuits, how pain goes through your body. We have different receptors that goes to different places in your brain, and a lot of the pain medication don't work very well, especially like for fractures or distal extremities pain. I found like sometimes there's other methods that works, and so we'll talk a little bit about some of them. But in the pain control, everybody always talks about pills, pills, pills. So it's a little bit like a myth, because there's other things that we can use for that you can have access, that you can buy, and you don't need to be illegal and have narcotics at home or things like that. So we'll discuss a little bit about that. And the last one, and I mean, this is a recurrent technique. Everybody always have a suture kit, and we need to do sutures, and suture is the only way of closing wounds. Primary closure is so important. That's the only way, and no, it's not. And we'll talk about especially a large wound that I don't see. Like, as you can see here, there's different ways of suturing. There's different techniques. There's different set of sutures depending of what different layers that you have. So complex wound, I would never go with primary closure if you have no experience with that, because you can do even bigger mess than anything else, because you close the top part, because that's the only part you're able to close, and now the bottom part has this big whole, say, party to anaerobic bacteria that can grow, and basically now you have abscess and all the complication of infection, easing wounds, and all that stuff. So we'll be talking about other things that can close, and primary closure, unless you're really well trained, and even that, why go with the suture? Again, I did a video on that, but staple would be my first choice, especially if you don't plan to practice constantly. It's very easy, it's cheap. You don't need a lot of experience to know what to do and things, and you can close it in a certain different. But primary closure is not the only way of closing wounds, no matter what Hollywood tells you and all the other videos on YouTube. There's other systems, and we'll talk about some of them, especially one called VAP. And how to make a VAP at home and improvise one, and so we'll be chatting about that stuff. So anyway, that was the a quick intro on what's coming in the trauma months, and we'll have more videos, a little bit more details about some of those myths and stuff, and the kits that we should have. So talk to you soon.